Hey there, silly story here, bringing you another silly tale for everyone to enjoy. Title, Principal Punt Penelope. The unlikely hero. As the school bell rang and students filtered into the halls, I, Principal Penelope White, stood at the front, arms crossed, surveying the chaos with my usual unamused expression. I ran a tight ship, no room for nonsense. The students respected me for my iron grip, my unflinching authority. Well, most of them did, but I could sense the tide turning. The school district had given me a warning. If my popularity didn't improve, I'd be replaced. Replaced! Me, Principal White, the pillar of discipline. Preposterous. So, what did I do? Naturally, I did what any reasonable principal would do in this situation. I took to the only resource I knew could turn things around. The internet. With a new sense of purpose, I marched into my office, determined to connect with the students. After all, how hard could it be to understand what the kids are into these days? I googled popular teen slang and wrote down the phrases I'd need to memorize: lit, fam, and my personal favorite, slay. The next morning, I entered the cafeteria with a confident stride, ready to introduce myself as a cool principal. "What's up, my homies?" I announced to a group of startled freshmen, who all immediately stopped chewing their pizza to stare at me like I'd just sprouted another head. One brave soul managed to respond, his face a mix of confusion and fear. Hi, Principal White," he stammered. You good?" I nodded with the sort of fervor only a desperate woman could muster. "Yeah, fam, everything's lit today." I threw up a peace sign that felt more like a peace desperation sign. The room fell silent. My homies stared, unsure if they should laugh or report me to the school board. "Well," I said, sweating a bit now, "I'll leave you to it. Keep slaying." As I exited, I heard one student whisper, "She's so cringy." I couldn't back down now. I was on a mission. The students needed to see I was one of them. I needed to prove I could be fun. After all, I'd seen school spirit days on social media. They wore pajamas, didn't they? It couldn't be that hard to pull off. I announced to the whole school, "We're having a PJ day. Wear your pajamas to school tomorrow, and we'll have a cozy, relaxed day." The next morning, the halls were flooded with students. But they didn't just wear pajamas, they took the assignment very seriously. The entire freshman class was practically in full-on sleeping bags, some with teddy bears, others with blankets tucked around their shoulders. As the bell rang for class, I walked into the first room to find a sea of slumbering teenagers, some sprawled out on the desks, others drooling on their textbooks. "Wake up, everyone. It's time to learn," I barked, but it was too late. The students barely stirred, groaning as if they had just awoken from a deep hibernation. One of the teachers, Mr. Miller, looked at me and muttered, "Maybe next time, just stick with Spirit Week. You know, the wear your school colors thing. The kids can't stay awake for that one." Now, I had really committed to the spirit thing. The district had set up a pep rally for the whole school, and I figured, why not show the students that I was truly a team player? I put on the school mascot costume, complete with giant furry paws, and a head that was too large for my liking. But there was a problem. The costume was stifling. The fabric was thick, the head too close to my face, and the air smelled faintly of nacho cheese, which is never a good sign. I tried to shake it off, but my claustrophobia began to kick in. My chest tightened. The students gathered in the gym, chanting and clapping, waiting for me to join in and lead the cheer. I had no choice. I ran onto the court, arms flailing. I could barely see out of the tiny eye holes. Students gasped, thinking this was some kind of new, avant-garde performance arts, but as I tried to perform a grand gesture, I tripped on the tail of the mascot suit and went flying, face first into the bleachers. The crowd gasped. The mascot's head had twisted sideways, and all they could see was my frantic, sweaty face staring out from inside the suit like some kind of wild animal trying to escape. The students erupted in laughter, mostly nervous, some genuinely amused, and I somehow managed to crawl out of the suit, red-faced and embarrassed. That, I muttered, brushing myself off, did not go according to plan. Despite my disastrous attempts to bond, something started to change. The kids, they weren't exactly wowed by my antics. but they started to see something in me. One day, during a school assembly, I overheard a group of students talking about the recent budget cuts, how it was going to reduce funding for their art programs, cutting classes they loved. I watched them, and for the first time, I truly saw their concern. They weren't just kids causing trouble, they were passionate, creative, and invested in their futures. And suddenly it hit me. I couldn't just be the strict principal anymore. If I was going to be the principal, I had to be there for them, not just with rules, but with heart. Without thinking, I stood up at the podium. "We're not going to let this happen," I said. "These programs mean something to you, and they mean something to me. I will fight for you. We're going to make sure you have the resources you need to keep your passions alive. So, no more cutting corners." For the first time in my career, I wasn't worried about rules or about looking cool. I was just being real. And the students, they cheered. For the first time in ages, they cheered for me. By the end of the semester, I wasn't the fun principal, and I certainly wasn't the tyrant I used to be. But I wasn't an out-of-touch administrator either. I had found a balance. The students no longer feared me, but they respected me. I still made rules, plenty of them, but I also listened. I cared. And I fought for what mattered. So maybe I wasn't the coolest principal, and maybe I'd never get my homie status back. But as I walked through the hallways that last day of school, students waved to me, not in fear, but with a little smile. That, I realized, was all the redemption I needed. Story ends. Thanks for listening. Make sure to visit our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this, show some love by hitting like, sharing it with someone you know, and subscribing so you can be part of this channel's journey. See you again for another silly story.